Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome back to Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry, and the Bengals season has concluded. Another successful season personally. I wanted to start with that. Thanks for First Star. Thanks to my co-host, Jake Lisco, on the Jake and Joe postgame show. I thought that was excellent every week. Hopefully we do that again next year. But that's over because I was hoping they'd make the playoffs and we would have more of those episodes. And we didn't want to have a goodbye on that episode, on that live reaction on Saturday night, in the case that they were going to have another game. So thank you, Jake. Thanks, First Star, for putting that together and producing that, and producer Dave Burke for keeping us together and making sure we were structured and on time and on task. The Bengals, though, finished 9-8, winning 5 straight at the end, beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in a nail-biter. Of course it was. Every game was. The defense came through at the end. I guess they got lucky a little bit too. Russell Wilson, weird decision. Then a drop by Pat Freiermuth. Sometimes you need to get lucky. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good on defense, especially. We will get to the Bengals firings, trying to set the stage to that as I'm recording this on Monday. So you'll be watching this on Tuesday. There may be another move coming. We'll see the timeline on that. But finishing with 5 straight wins, finishing with a winning record, 9-8 for the 4th straight year. The team still believes in Zac. I think this team, the organization, the players and the team, however you want to look at that, the players and the organization still believe in Zac, are still trusting that he can do the right things and get them where they need to go. It doesn't mean it's perfect. Clearly, there are so many moments we can point to this season. I would like to do a video on this, or analysis on it, or recap some of these. I think it'd be a painful watch to go back and say, week 1, Tanner Hudson drop, Mike Gesicki, or Tanner Hudson fumble, Mike Gesicki drop, Geno Stone drop in the end zone, Charlie Jones fumble punt, Joe Burrow not pulling the trigger on the final drive. And then you can go to week 2 and week 3 and week 4 and you could go throughout and point to a multitude of plays in every single loss and say, why weren't they sharper? Why weren't they better? Why couldn't they get to these plays? Why couldn't they make these plays? What was missing in 2024? And it's a shame because Joe Burrow played at an MVP level. He played so damn good this year. We're going to have we got a whole offseason. I'll talk about what the rest of Bengals on the Brain will look like for the offseason if you're a new watcher. The offseason's honestly some of our best content. We'll have a whole episode on Joe Burrow, I'm sure, if not more. You had an Offensive Player of the Year candidate and Triple Crown winner in Jamar Chase at 24 years old, looking like the best receiver in the league. And you waste those two. You got Trey Hendrickson leading the league in sacks. Probably going to be top 5 for Defensive Player of the Year on a bad defense. Probably why he's going to be up there on a bad defense with no other pass rush help. Insane season from him. A pleasure to watch those 3 guys and so many other guys, right? We will get through to talk about what's coming. We're going to evaluate what we have on the roster first and then look outwardly, free agents and the draft. Other players that played well, some that did not, players that will be cut. We're not here to talk about personnel decisions just yet. We will get to that in the future episodes. Just a reflection on the season, missed opportunities, field goals, special teams in general. Even though somehow they ended up as one of the top special teams units in terms of grade for PFF, despite the missed kicks. Because if you look around the league, good God, what happened to special teams this year? No idea. Kickers fell off a map. Coverage units couldn't figure it out. Maybe it was the new kickoff rules. They spent so much time on that, everything else went to the wayside. Maybe. Chase Brown should be talked about there. Mike Gesicki was a good addition. For all the bad free agent signings they've had, Mike Gesicki was a good one. Good fit. Good job. Should have came here a year ago, right? They were interested. He went to the Patriots. For what? Bill O'Brien was there as coach at Penn State, right? Maybe. Anyway, we'll look at so many moments that they could have made an impact, could have changed the game. One more game, one more moment, whether that's the Chiefs game, the Chargers game, one of the Ravens games, and you're in the playoffs. You're in the playoffs with a chance to make some noise, despite the flaws on the team. You would make some noise. And it's a shame. And it's inexcusable. I think we feel that way as a fan base, but we wake up Monday morning and the Bengals announce a bunch. Well, I guess they didn't announce it. I guess it was beat reporters. Sources say, I guess we could do that here, that the Bengals have fired Lou Anarumo as defensive coordinator, Frank Pollack as offensive line coach and run game coordinator, James Bettcher as linebacker coach, and Marion Hobby as defensive line coach. Wasting no time. I think the team did announce it because Zac Taylor had a press conference and talked about it. So it's always a weird thing when people get fired. How do you present that? So aggressively making moves. If you were wondered, a couple of things here. If you wondered, would the dead cat bounce of winning 5 straight games at the end save these guys' jobs? I've been saying the whole time it's not. It will not save their jobs. And it didn't. Clearly. I mean, they're fired on Monday, right away. If you thought maybe this would signal, or maybe the front office and management and the ownership and the family would have reason to say, well, that we went 9-8, we figured it out. Let's go. Let's run it back. Clearly, they did not feel that way. And I think as fans, we want our feelings to be justified and shared by the front office and the organization, right? If we're angry, upset, realize it of the opportunity that was just wasted, we want them to share those feelings. And I would say those moves signify that. Those moves show that they also feel this. They also share that. We had a lot of good times with Lou Anarumo. Some of the best moments in Bengals history. Lou was the defensive coordinator and his defense was making plays. But after 6 years, never really having a top defense, never being consistent, really never being consistent. That's probably the hardest part. They move on. And it's justified because the team, the front office organization has spent so many defensive picks on that side of the ball. They wanted to go cheap there. It's fair criticism. They should have paid Jesse Bates. They should have paid DJ Reader. They should have remained aggressive in free agency when they lost those guys. They did not. And because of it, they said, we need to go cheap. I had a video about this on Twitter when they were 4-8. I said they're asking their coaches to succeed with one hand tied behind their backs. And I believe that. By not giving them the resources or drafting well enough and letting the star players walk, you told this defense, I need you guys to perform at a level you are probably incapable of performing at. And if you can't, you'll be fired. Hard ask, but that is the job. Listen, the Bengals have paid their quarterback. They've paid their left tackle. The plan is to pay their number 1 wide receiver, the number 2 receiver, and their top edge rusher. That's premium pay. Those are the premium positions, and their plan is to pay all of them. I'm telling you this. If they do, you need coaches on the offensive line, where you're now replacing Frank Pollack, and on the defensive side, where you're replacing Lou Anarumo, to turn water into lemonade. Doesn't have to be wine. I just need to be able to have a refreshing drink out of the pieces we're giving you. That's the job. If you can't do it, if your water tastes like water, and we're the 24th ranked defense, listen, the Bengals spent 30th most cash on the defense this year. If they end up being the 28th ranked defense, you're fired. They didn't spend on the defense. I know the cap hits, but we will talk cash and cap as we get closer to the free agency and extensions if those happen before then, which we should expect, especially T. The cash was bottom of the league. They got bottom of the league results. Lou, you got to go. We need you to turn that into the 16th ranked defense. If you cannot, we will find somebody that maybe can, hopefully can, fingers crossed can. That is the job. I'm not mad at it. They're choosing to pay the premium spots, and then the rest has to get figured out. I don't mind that plan. If you tell me we're going to pay our stars, and you're a little late on this because you should have started with Jesse Bates, but better late than never. If you're telling me the plan is we're going to pay the stars and we're going to try and find the right coaches to make those other pieces as good as we possibly can, I will say, okay, I get it. It's worth a shot. It's a plan. It's a unified vision. And that's something that I think they haven't had since, no, maybe not the whole time. Maybe not the whole time. I'm thinking of the Taylor Burrow era. There have been draft picks. I go right to 2021. Jackson Carman being drafted. That was not a Frank Pollack pick. That came from the heavens above. You can figure out what I'm talking about. Not a unified vision. That didn't work out. You lit a premium draft pick in a Super Bowl year where you said, we're going to take a receiver because we're going to get a good offensive lineman after, and you just lit it on fire. Come back in the third round, you get Joseph Osai. Well, Marion Hobby, I need you to develop him. And you don't in 2 years. The flashes were there. I posted so many clips of Osai winning early, but not consistently. So now we got to take Miles Murphy in the first round. Jackson Carman wasn't good. So now we got to draft these other offensive linemen. We got to sign these other offensive linemen and spend picks. Like right away, these have lasting and cascading impacts on decision-making and coaching down the line. And we could do the same. I could do this for 2022, 2023, drafting Dax Hill. And then, we don't have anywhere to play him. He'll be here for the future when we lose Jesse Bates because we're accepting that we're going to lose a blue chip player on our defense. Just accept it because we don't want to spend the cash. I don't want to turn this into a rant. I want to keep bringing it back to coaching and the moves they made. But there's no way Lou wanted to lose Jesse Bates. So you need to unify the vision between the front office and the coaching. And clearly, it was not unified. So these guys got to go. And I'm in favor. I'm also in favor of switching it up every few years. I think I made this point early, I think after the Patriots lost on Bengals on the Brain. The Bengals were an easy team to game plan for going into years. You wonder why Zac hasn't had a great record in September? I think part of it is, and just a part, I want to be clear because people think whenever I say something, that's like my whole vision. I have multiple opinions on many things. I'm a scatterbrain at times. But part of the reason why they struggled in September is because they had the same head coach, same offense coordinator, same defensive coordinator for 5 of these 6 years. And then you promote from within it with Dan Bettcher, who I think did a good job. But a complete different system week 1? No, of course not. It looked like the Bengals offense that they've always run under Dan Bettcher or under Brian Callahan and Zac Taylor. Same with the defense. Instead, the Bengals go against Patriots have to go for a whole new system. They have to game plan for unknowns of what the Patriots may or may not be. It's an easy game plan for the Patriots of a team who's doing this for 5 straight years of the same staff. You typically don't have the same staff together for that long. Sometimes those guys getting promotions is not a bad thing. Brian Callahan getting a promotion, not a bad thing. If Lou would have got that Cardinals job, probably not a bad thing. Keep it new, keep it fresh, keep it churning in order to not be such an easy scouting evaluation for the other team. There should be more unknowns. And I don't think the Bengals have had that. So you let these guys go. And I think they're good moves. I think if you're negative today, if you're upset today, because you want Duke Tobin gone and Zac Taylor gone, justified. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I would say that Zac is going to definitely get this next year to show what his worth is, to show that he can still push this program forward. Remember, the hard part I have is on one hand, if I got a devil and an angel on each shoulder, on one, the devil side, after 5 years, if you haven't won it with the coach quarterback combo, you should move on from the coach because you have the right quarterback. Move on from the coach. Find a new one. Just keep rolling the dice. Maybe you hit gold. Maybe you strike it rich, and now you're set up for championships. On the other hand, Burrow has been hurt for 2 of those. One was a rookie year, he got hurt. Then the calf, and then wrist injury. So has it really been 5 years? It has, but injuries. Could the Bengals have got it? Like last year should have been a good year. If Burrow's healthy throughout, do they go 9-8? Do they go better? Maybe they go 9-8 because Burrow was healthy all this last year. But I thought last year's team was better, and especially on defense. So they had DJ Reader last year still, That'd be an interesting look at it. But anyways, so on the one end, move on and keep it churning. And on the other end, it's really only been 3 years of healthy Burrow. And they went to the Super Bowl, AFC Championship, and then 9-8 with a crazy good offense this year. Do you want to risk losing that part? I don't think they do. So Zac will get another year. So where do they go from here? It could take a while. I think some of the names they're looking at, some of the people they're looking at, there's a couple things. First, I'll say what I want to see. I would like a former head coach. Get your Steve Spagnuolo. That's the Chiefs defensive coordinator. Get that guy that's not going to get another head coach job. Whether it's Dennis Allen, whether it's Robert Saleh, there's a host of guys. But get that guy that you can, after I just said, keep it churning, get a guy you can have for a while. That's not just going to immediately be promoted for a head coaching job. But he's got to be good. Like Spagnuolo is great. He's a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. He's won enough Super Bowls. He shut down the Tom Brady 16-0 Patriots. Can you find one of those guys? It's probably super rare. But is Saleh that? Is Dennis Allen? That's what I would like to see. Plus, if Zac Taylor then gets fired, you can promote that guy to head coach if he's the right guy. So I'd love to see that. On the other hand, and this ties with the O-line coach as well, maybe you dip into the college ranks. Maybe you get an up-and-coming guy. The Bengals tried to interview Aaron Glenn from the Saints when they ended up hiring Lou Anarumo. Lou wasn't their first choice. Remember, this was going to the combine. They didn't have Lou Anarumo last time. 6-7 weeks without a defensive coordinator. They tried to hire Aaron Glenn, and the Saints blocked it. I'm not saying like Glenn won't take the job now because he is a defensive coordinator. But what I'm saying is it's not terrible to take an unknown guy and turn him into a good defensive coordinator. But will it take 2 years? That's risky. Because even the Lions' first year under Dan Campbell went 3-13. It takes time for coaching staffs to figure it out. If you're going with a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive line coach. But in the college ranks, you could dip into there, find these guys that are trying to defend passing offenses, trying to defend mobile quarterbacks. You got to do that with Lamar in your division. The Browns are probably going to pick a quarterback. We'll see what the Steelers do. Russ hasn't been good, but if they keep Justin Fields, another mobile quarterback. So you may want to dip into the college ranks and find a guy or a guy who has had success in college and now is in the NFL. How about Jim Leonard, Broncos defensive passing game coordinator for the Broncos? That's a top defense in the league. That's a really good team and scheme. I would take Jim Leonard if we're not going to get a former head coach guy for the job. Is it just Al Golden? They bring him back, who was on the team in 2021 and even before that, I think. Maybe. O-line coach, though, I definitely feel this way. Like the up-and-coming guys looking at this year, the Packers, the Ravens did this. Ravens lost their O-line coach. He died in the summer, and they had to replace him. He passed away. And their run game looks excellent this year. They do it all from shotgun. The Packers do it all from shotgun. Watch the playoffs this year. Watch how many teams are running out of shotgun. The Bills running out of shotgun and a fully fledged, lots of pieces moving, things going on. The coaches are out there. Pollack didn't fit. He was a wide zone under center coach. It didn't fit the scheme for what the Bengals are doing. And maybe the scheme sucks and they should be doing something else. But we're talking about a top 5 offense that could somehow get better. If you figure out pass blocking, get a coach that can do this, and then figure out the run game and fully fledge it out of the shotgun. If you can do that, How much better could this offense be? A lot better. It's such a huge move. Potential for both defense and O-line run game. Because if they get these right, if you can even get a 15th ranked defense, because some schemes, some coaches, look at the Cardinals defense. Look at the Titans defense. Like, there's not a lot of names on these teams, and they weren't good teams, but the defense performed to a decent level. There are some that just work and are just good enough and can elevate bad players or average players to good players. Bengals didn't have that. Although they did get a lot of cast-offs in the Lou Anarumo era to play well. Von Bell, Chidobe Awuzie, these are all good players. Mike Hilton, both linebackers. BJ Hill, Larry Ogunjobi, Sam Hubbard was making plays. Trey Hendrickson. These guys didn't get huge deals in free agency. DJ Reader, banded them together. If I didn't say Reader, I thought I did. Banded them together and got great play out of them until they couldn't anymore. Find the guy that can do that again on defense and watch how much better this team could be. Find a guy that can get a scheme working on the O-line and in the run game. Watch how much better this offense could be. They could take a leap by getting these right. And if they only get one of the two right, it could still be a huge boost to this team. Hopefully they get them both right. Could be monumental. But that's where we sit. Bengals have made moves. They've stayed aggressive. And it's exciting. Don't be negative. These are good things. It could be way worse. And not that that's the goal, is to set the standard at the bottom. But there are reason to believe these moves can turn into big dividends for this team in 2025. Let's set the stage, though, for what to expect from this show, from Bengals on the Brain, over the next however many months, the off season, because we got a lot planned for you. So what is to come for Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics, over the next few months? We'll start there. Well, just going back to 2 shows per week, Tuesday, Friday. We'll have film. This Friday show will be the film review for, I don't know if we'll focus so much on week 18, but I've got a few themes and trends that I'm going to kick off the offseason with, and we're going to start with film on that. And we're going to evaluate, let's say, like Geno Stone or Jordan Battle. Do we expect, based on what we got on tape, based on the evaluation, I keep grading and scoring on all these guys. If you remember the book that we did, I keep the scoring still. So we'll bring that up. We'll score these players and say, is that what we want at that position, or do we need more? As they hire these guys, we're going to have to go back and watch film. If they hire Robert Saleh, let's say, we'll have to go back and watch film of the Jets and enjoy some of that. I want to go and look at some of these playoff teams as well. Look at their run game. Look how they're doing it. Look how they're doing this with defense, whatever it may be. We'll see what these narratives are as playoffs go. But that's part of January fun for me, is setting the stage of what does 2025 look like by looking at the playoff teams. Where are they spending money? Where are they allocating draft picks? How are they designing their offense and defense? So we'll watch film on that. We'll discuss that stuff, how it all impacts the Bengals and reflects on the Bengals. And then late January is the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. This is where all the seniors and eligible juniors that are declared for the draft go and have an all-star game, practice one-on-one against each other. This is our first look at these prospects. Unless you love college football and you're already deep into it, which if you're watching this show and you're into the evaluation aspect of the Bengals, you're probably already into it. I'm not. I treat it like the coaches do. This will be my first foray into the 2025 draft and my first exposure to these players. That gets me excited. That's just a few weeks away. So we will prepare for that, and we will go to that, and we will have clips, highlights, evaluations from the Senior Bowl as we start to get familiarized with these draft prospects coming out. Right after that, February is the Combine. We will still be watching our own players and evaluating, and then get to the Combine. We'll talk about the Combine a ton. In that time frame, though, from January, the Senior Bowl kicks off the draft season, to the Combine, probably at least 1 episode per week, if not more. Some weeks probably be 2. We will start evaluating college prospects and watching 2 to 3 or 4 games, breaking down the tape and starting to gather an opinion about those players. Start to get a target list for the Bengals at pick 17. We didn't say that. I should have led the show off that. I absolutely love the draft. It is my favorite football event of the year. So it's a lot of work going into that. We will evaluate and categorize. I think we ended up with over 50 players last year of film reviews before we hit the draft on Bengals on the Brain. That'll be the goal again. We will hit that again. Twitter will provide many more evaluations and thoughts at Joe Goodberry. So make sure you follow me and potentially subscribe there, which a lot of content will be on the subscriber section. But to keep us focused here, free agency in March. So we've got January Senior Bowl, February Combine, free agency in March. In that time frame, the Bengals are expected to try and extend T. Higgins. March, free agency, big. Bengals don't have a lot of guys leaving, especially if they can extend T. Who are they adding? We'll watch film on those guys. We'll break it down. We'll do evaluations on whatever players they add to the roster. And then right after that, so that's March. April is the draft, and we will have a huge probably draft show. First Star puts one on, whether that's a party or a show, and then beyond. You know, hopefully we're still doing this and still going on. I would expect that. I've heard nothing that wouldn't suggest we're going to continue this show into 2025 and into the 2025 season. I'm excited for you guys to join me and see what it's like, especially if you're a new watcher, a new follower. I've been doing this for 16 years now. Next year will be the 17th year. The game plan is set. The schedule is set. How we do it and how we operate. I want you guys to join me. I'm not perfect at it. I get things right. I get things wrong. That's part of the fun for me. I like to bring you guys along the journey with me. And I will take your input and read your comments and see what's up, and leave your comments down here because I always read them, get your thoughts. And what do you think about the firings? And what do you want to see going forward? Or call your shot. I'd like to see someone call their shot on who the defensive coordinator will be for the Bengals in 2025. Until next time, Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. Until probably September. Who day?
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.